Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another Digimon video. So today I'm going to be talking about the new Ultimate Cup updates for when Ultimate Cups are going to be coming back in December and January. So as far as the new rules, Ultimate Cup has usually changed up its rule set. Last time it was on monocolor, and this time it seems like they're just restricting the card pool to a handful of sets and some promos, along with some supplementary products. So as far as what's actually going to be legal, we still are going to be following the ban and restricted list, so any card that is on that ban and restricted list is still going to be impacted for Ultimate Cups. But as far as the sets that are actually going to be legal, it's going to mostly be anything that had just recently came out as of the Resurgence booster. So as far as the sets that are actually legal, it is going to be the Resurgence booster, the upcoming Blast Ace, and Animal Coliseum when we eventually get there. Then we're also going to have the two starter decks, which is going to be starter decks 15 and 16, which is Dragon of Courage and Wolf of Friendship, also being legal. So as far as the actual promos and all of the supplementary side stuff that's going to be legal, we do have the pre-release cards that are going to be legal in the form of a promo Gatomon and Greymon X Antibody. This will greatly power up the Greymon decks and Yellow Vaccine decks for this environment. Then we're also going to have the limited card set, which is going to be the training cards, which these cards are going to be borderline mandatory staples in almost any deck, especially for this format if we want to try to make our decks as consistent and fast as we possibly can make them. Then we're also going to be getting the Blast Ace Survey Pack, so most of these promos really aren't going to be doing anything because they're playing and interacting with decks we actually just aren't allowed to play with for this environment, but there are a couple of cards that are at least worth pointing out, like the Rust Tyrannomon Ace deck being one of the best green level 6s that we have in this format, as well as Nightmon and Diaboromon Ace potentially seeing some use. Then we also have the Digimon Adventure 02 trial deck, or tutorial deck. So this is just the demo deck that they're going to be giving out with the BT14 while supplies last, literally making an Imperialmon deck possible for this format. Then we're also going to be getting the Official Store Tournament Volume 11 set and the winner pack for it. So those cards are also going to be legal for this environment, which is pretty good because we already know that RBO1 is going to be legal. So the Gamamon cards are definitely going to be a nice inclusion. We know that Yellow Vaccine is going to be a deck, so the Pulsemon cards could see some use there. And we already know that based off of the starter deck, a Greymon deck is also going to be somewhat viable, especially paired up with BT14. Then we have the Tamer Party Pack, the beginning, version 1. So this is going to double down on some DNA stuff. Most of the good cards from this are just going to be included inside of the starter deck for Imperial to be able to make an Imperial deck even stronger, but some of the other DNA-based cards could be interesting to play around with. Especially since we already know that Tamer Party Pack 02, the beginning version 2, is going to include all of the new movie promos, which again is going to double down on some of those DNAs. So what cards do we actually expect to be good? Well, based on the card pool and the competitive information that we have, it's kind of obvious on what's actually going to be good just because of the small card pool. Training cards and memory boosts are going to be borderline staples and auto includes into basically every deck just so that they can have as much consistency and efficiency as they possibly can. Decks that are going to be playing with monocolor are going to have the leg up over decks that are trying to utilize different colors just because these training and memory boost cards are looking and interacting with one color specifically when it comes to their searching or digging potential. Then any generic card that's not going to be hyper-specific at trying to interact with something is also going to be a really good card that you're going to want to think about utilizing. So these are going to be in the form of some generic tamers, some floodgates, and the more mechanical-based cards that are going to act as good filler for the decks that don't have firmly established mechanics. Then, as far as some other things to note, with the few sets that are actually legal, there seems to be a distinct lack of actual good removal options. So, any options that actually can remove bodies from the field efficiently and effectively enough is going to be a really good thing to want to think about utilizing, and the Digimon that have it built in are also going to be some of the better Digimon to think about utilizing. So, what decks do we actually expect to do good? Well, the short answer is anything that actually has enough support to make a deck out of is going to be the most competitively viable, just because they're going to have the leg up over decks that are trying to rely more purely on mechanics, because, well, with the archetypes and tribals, the mechanics are already pre-built in to what they're already trying to do. So as far as for December in BT14, Lugamon, Wargreymon, Yellow Vaccine, Imperial Jimon, D-Police, Blue Source Stripping of some variety, and Gamamon are going to be the top decks that are going to be looked at first, just because all of these decks are already established with what they're trying to do, both mechanically and archetypically. Then, as far as just some other decks to put a little bit of attention on, just because we do have enough to kind of flesh them out for the most part, even though they are going to be lacking a little bit in terms of some of their parts and pieces. That's where all the filler comes in. We do have a Numemon and Monzimon deck, and then something purple discard related could try to do well in terms of what we have left to consider. I think that out of all of the decks, we're probably going to be seeing a lot of Lugamon and a lot of Wargreymon as two of the strongest decks because of the amount of support that they have. But I think that all of the other decks that I've mentioned are still pretty decent to be competitively viable for this type of environment. Then when it comes to January and the release of EX5, a lot of things are going to be added to the pool, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just everything that was already good in December is still probably going to be good in January, and based on how EX sets are designed, they're more self-inclusive. So these decks needing less cards from outside sources are in the best position to put themselves above the rest of the pack. So we're going to have Anubismon, Garurumon, X-Antibody, and Fanglongmon are in the best positions for this type of competitive environment, while we also do have Green Leomon, Leviamon, and Demon Lords, and Grace Nova that also might have some competitive success as well. So as far as how I actually came to this conclusion, well, I just used all of the information that I had to be able to see which of the decks are going to be as feature complete versus their competitive counterpart as possible, and kind of go from there. So the decks that are more feature complete are the ones that are going to have the better chances of being successful because they're missing less pieces. So even if you just look at the level 6 quality alone, you could see that a lot of these level 6s, the quality is just not very high, and the synergy that we have to even remotely try to make some of them useful is not exactly there yet. So green, as an example, is in one of the worst positions just because we can't make use of almost any of the level 6s that we have. The Dire Rabbit deck isn't nearly feature complete to even want to attempt to try to make him viable, on top of the fact that we are in that same type of a boat with Rosemon and Plants, Fairies, and Vegetations. Rust Tyrannomon Ace is the best level 6 that we have left, and I don't necessarily know if it's going to be as strong of a deck to build around as something like what Fenrir Lugamon is going to be doing, just because his deck is already more feature complete, being mostly self-contained to BT14. And that kind of just stems into a lot of the level 6s is most of them, the quality's not good or the support is just not there, and that's just the unfortunate reality that we're faced with when having such a limited card pool. So this brings me to the idea on who is this even for? We already know that Ultimate Cup's goal is to change the current rule set of the game to create a different and unique experience for anyone who's going to be playing. For a deck builder's perspective, they get to build under new constraints to try to be a little bit more creative in what they can come up with, on top of players having a break from the big competitive grind, having just that different gameplay experience, even though it still is the same game. so the rule sets in particular are more new player friendly. It is just utilizing cards from the latest sets, being legal, leveling the card pool that players have access to, so that way it's more accessible for all of those new players. So is this actually going to be that fun of an environment? Well, who knows? That's up to you to decide that for yourself. So as far as my overall thoughts and impressions, I am not going to be playing this environment. I don't necessarily care about it. I've never cared about Ultimate Cups changing the format. I just want to put all of that time and effort, instead of putting that into Ultimate Cups, I want to put it more towards the competitive grind itself, trying to prep for more regionals and nationals so I could do as well as I possibly can on a higher level. But that's just me trying to be more competitive. Like all Ultimate Cups, I think that it's more of a fun thought experiment more than something I actually care about playing in. So I'll see how things are going to be shaping up, but I'm not looking to join any of the Ultimate Cups anytime soon. I do think that the environment is looking to already be kind of boring, just because of the limited amount of cards that are available and the limited amount of decks that are actually going to be viable. But I guess that's kind of the fun, where we're going to be experimenting to see if anything new can emerge from all of the limitations. But realistically, based on the sets that we're going to be playing with, I don't necessarily think that's going to be possible. Which is why I'm not really excited for this type of environment personally. But if you're excited for this type of environment, then by all means, don't let me stop you from having fun the way you want to. So that's all I really have for this video. As always, feel free to tell me your thoughts down in the comments below, and down in the description below are a couple of different ways you could support me and the channel. So I do have a TCG Player affiliate link, so when you use that link to buy cards off of TCG Player, then some of that money will go to supporting me and the channel. I also do make and sell playmats over on Overcard Gamers on Facebook, so when you buy a playmat with my design, then some of that money will also go to help supporting me and the channel. And on top of all of that, I do have a Twitch account over on twitch.tv/Zenitsu, so giving me a follow and a subscription also helps support me there, and I do play Digimon on top of various other games on that platform as well. So thank you everyone for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video.